My boss asked, "Why are you still single, Nathan?" And I looked at Melissa Harper, the woman who'd been my supervisor for 8 months, the woman who reviewed my architectural designs and signed my paychecks, the woman who had absolutely no idea she'd been my wife for 5 years before a car accident erased every memory of me from her mind. And I gave her the answer that shattered both our worlds. Because I'm already married. She just doesn't remember me. I'm Nathan Cross, a senior architect who spent 3 years living the most painful lie imaginable. And for 8 months, I've been working for the woman I'm still legally bound to, the woman whose coffee order I still know by heart, the woman who looks at me every single day like I'm a complete stranger. It was 10 p.m. on a Friday, just the two of us finishing the Henderson project in the empty conference room. We'd ordered Thai food, spread blueprints across the table, and somewhere between design revisions and small talk, my boss had gotten comfortable enough to ask the question I'd been dreading since the day she hired me. The question that would force me to choose between protecting her new life and finally telling her the truth about the 5 years she'd lost. "Seriously though, Nathan," Melissa said, setting down her pen and looking at me with those green eyes I used to kiss awake every morning. "You're talented, you're successful, you're—" She hesitated, and I saw her cheeks flush slightly. "Why are you still single? Why does a man like you eat lunch alone every day and leave the office the second work ends and wear a wedding ring but claim he's widowed?" My hands started shaking. The coffee cup I was holding rattled against the saucer. Because looking at her hurt. Because working for her was torture. Because every time my boss asked me to stay late or complimented my work or accidentally brushed my hand passing documents, I had to pretend I didn't know exactly how her touch used to feel when she meant it. But my boss was waiting for my answer, and I could see the exact moment she noticed my reaction, the trembling hands, the way I couldn't meet her eyes, the way my voice came out broken when I finally spoke. "Because I'm already married," I said, and I watched her face change as I continued. "She just doesn't remember me." Melissa went pale. Her pen slipped from her fingers and clattered onto the blueprints. "What does that mean?" Her voice came out small, confused, like I'd just said something in a foreign language. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Somewhere down the hall, a cleaning crew's vacuum cleaner droned. Normal sounds in a normal office where I was about to destroy everything. I pulled off my wedding ring. The one I'd worn every single day for 8 years. The one everyone in the office had noticed but been too polite to ask about. I set it on the table between us, and it caught the light, gleaming gold against the white blueprints. 3 years ago, I started, and my throat felt like it was closing. 3 years ago, I was driving home from our anniversary dinner, 5 years married. We were happy. We were talking about buying a house, maybe starting a family. And I looked away from the road for maybe 2 seconds to change the radio station. Melissa's breathing had changed, short, shallow breaths like she was preparing to run. "A drunk driver crossed the center line, hit us head on. I woke up in the hospital with a concussion and broken ribs. They told me my wife was in surgery. Told me to pray." My voice cracked. 6 hours later, they told me she didn't make it, told me the head trauma was too severe, told me she was gone. "Nathan," my boss whispered, but I couldn't stop now. Except she wasn't gone. 2 months later, I got a call from a hospital 3 states away. Records mix-up. She was alive. And I drove 19 hours straight thinking I was getting my wife back. I looked at Melissa now, really looked at her. But when I walked into that room, she looked at me like I was a stranger. The color had completely drained from her face. Her hand moved to her temple, pressing there like she had a sudden headache. "Complete retrograde amnesia," I continued. "She didn't remember our wedding, our first date, the apartment we shared, me. She didn't remember me." I picked up my phone with trembling hands. I visited for 6 months, showed her photos, told her stories, but there was nothing, no recognition. Her doctor said I was making it worse, said she needed to move on, said I should let her go. "So you let her go," Melissa said, and her voice sounded strange now, hollow. "I signed papers declaring myself legally dead so she could rebuild her life," I said. "Moved away, tried to forget, but 2 years later I saw a job posting, senior architect position, and the VP's name was Melissa Harper." My boss stood up so fast, her chair fell backward and crashed against the wall. "No," she breathed, "no. That's not—" Your name is Melissa Harper, I said, standing too. You're 32 years old. You take your coffee with 2 creams, 1 sugar, you're allergic to shellfish. You have a birthmark on your left shoulder blade shaped like a comma. Your favorite movie is The Princess Bride, and you cry every time Wesley says, "As you wish." Stop it, she said, backing away from me. Stop it, Nathan. You can't. 3 years ago, you were my wife, I said, and I was crying now, tears streaming down my face. And I've spent 8 months working for you, watching you live without me, pretending to be a stranger because I couldn't stand to never see you again. Melissa's back hit the window. She had nowhere left to go. I don't remember you, she said, and her voice broke on every word. I woke up in a hospital 3 years ago with nothing, no memories, no family. They told me nobody was looking for me. They were wrong, I said. I was looking for you. I never stopped. She was shaking her head, tears spilling over now. Prove it. If you're telling the truth, prove it. I pulled up my phone and opened the photos I'd looked at every night for 3 years. Our wedding day, me in a dark suit, her in a white dress, both of us laughing. Honeymoon in Greece, random mornings making breakfast, Christmas, birthdays, a whole life captured in pixels. I handed her the phone. She looked at the first photo and a sound came out of her that wasn't quite human. A gasp and a sob mixed together. That's me, she whispered, scrolling to the next one. That's my face, but I don't. She stopped on a photo of us kissing on a beach at sunset. Her hand went to her mouth. Oh my God, why don't I remember this? Why don't I remember you? Because a drunk driver took you from me, I said quietly, and I've been trying to figure out how to live without you while you're still alive. Melissa looked up from the phone, and something in her eyes made my heart stop. Not just shock, not just confusion, something else, something that looked almost like recognition fighting its way to the surface. When you interviewed me 8 months ago, she said slowly, you said something about believing buildings should feel like home, and she pressed her hand to her chest, I felt something, like I'd heard you say that before, like déjà vu but stronger. My breath caught. And sometimes, she continued, voice shaking, when you say my name, I get this feeling in my stomach, this flutter. I thought maybe she looked at the photos again. But it's not just attraction, is it? It's muscle memory. My body remembers you even though my brain doesn't. The doctor said that might happen, I whispered. They said sometimes the body holds memories the mind can't access. Melissa scrolled through more photos, and with each one, her breathing got faster, more panicked. We look so happy, she said. We look like we were. She stopped on a photo of her laughing, my arms around her waist, both of us covered in paint. What were we doing here? Painting the bedroom in our first apartment, I said. You got more paint on me than the walls, and we ended up having a paint fight. That's the day I knew I wanted to marry you. A tear rolled down her cheek. I have a fiancé, she said suddenly. Marcus. He helped me recover after the accident. He's been there for 3 years. He's coming here tonight to propose. The words hit me like another car crash. I know, I said. I've watched you fall in love with him, watched him make you smile, watched him be the man I used to be. But you never said anything, Melissa said, and now there was anger mixing with her tears. You just worked for me, watched me, stayed silent while I built a life that didn't include you. How could I tell you? I asked. How could I walk up to my boss and destroy the life she'd built just because I couldn't let her go? But you didn't let me go, she said, her voice rising. You took a job working for me. You see me every single day. That's not letting go, Nathan. That's torture for both of us. The conference room door opened. We both turned. Marcus stood there in an expensive suit, champagne bottle in one hand, small velvet box visible in his jacket pocket. His eyes went from Melissa's tear-stained face to mine, to the phone still showing our wedding photos clutched in her hands. Melissa, he said, and his voice was careful, too careful, like he'd been expecting something like this. Marcus walked into the conference room like he'd been expecting this moment, not surprised, not shocked, just resigned. He set the champagne bottle down on the table next to the scattered blueprints and my wedding ring, and when he looked at Melissa, there was something in his eyes that looked almost like relief mixed with pain. You told her, he said to me. Not a question, a statement. My stomach dropped. You knew? I've known for 3 months, Marcus said quietly. He turned to Melissa. I'm sorry. I should have told you. But I didn't know how. Melissa looked between us like we were both speaking a language she didn't understand. What are you talking about? How could you possibly know? Marcus pulled out his phone, pulled up a photo and handed it to her. It was a picture of a memorial service, my memorial service, the one Melissa had held for me 2 years ago when she'd legally declared me dead. And there in the front row, crying, was a younger version of herself that she didn't remember. I was your physical therapist, Marcus said. But before that, I was also the therapist for a man named Nathan Cross who came to me after losing his wife in a car accident. He was broken, devastated, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. He showed me pictures of her constantly, talked about her every session. My blood went cold. I didn't make the connection at first, Marcus continued. You came to me 6 months after he stopped coming. Different last name on your chart because you'd reverted to your maiden name. No memories. But then one day, you showed me a photo from your hospital records, a photo the staff had taken of you when you first woke up. And I recognized you. Melissa was shaking her head. No, you would have told me. You would have... I tried, Marcus said, and his voice cracked. I called Nathan, found out he'd moved 3 states away, signed papers declaring himself dead, told me to never contact him again. He said you deserved a fresh start. Said he wasn't going to ruin your recovery by forcing himself back into your life. And he looked at me now. I fell in love with you. And I convinced myself that maybe it was better if you never knew. That maybe Nathan had made the right choice, letting you go. But 3 months ago, Marcus continued, you came home from work excited about this brilliant new architect your firm had hired. You kept talking about Nathan Cross and how talented he was and how you felt comfortable working with him. And I knew he'd found you. Melissa sank into a chair, the phone with our wedding photos still clutched in her hand. You've both been lying to me for months, she whispered. Everyone has been making decisions about my life except me. I'm sorry, Marcus said. I'm so sorry, Melissa. But I couldn't watch you start having feelings for your own husband and not say something. That's why I moved up the proposal, why I came here tonight instead of waiting. I thought, if I could just... He stopped, pulled out the ring box, looked at it, then put it back in his pocket. But I can't propose to a woman who looks at another man the way you look at him. I don't look at him any way, Melissa said, but her voice lacked conviction. Yes, you do, Marcus said gently. You have been for 2 months. You light up when he walks into a room. You find excuses to work late when he's here. You talk about him constantly. And I've been watching you fall back in love with your husband while having no idea that's what was happening. Melissa turned to me, and her eyes were wild with something between anger and fear, and something else I couldn't name. Is that true? Have I been... She stopped, pressed her hand to her chest. I thought it was just attraction. I thought maybe I just had a stupid crush on my employee. But it's not that, is it? It's muscle memory. My heart recognizing what my brain can't. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if what you feel is memory or something new or... Show me more, she interrupted. Show me everything, every photo, every video, every piece of proof that I was your wife. Because right now, I don't know who I am. I don't know if I'm the woman in those photos or the woman who fell in love with Marcus or someone completely different. And I need to know. I looked at Marcus. He nodded slowly. And that's when Melissa's phone rang. She looked at the screen, and her face went white. It's my mother, she said, the woman I've been calling Mom for 3 years. But if I was married to you, she looked at me. Who is she really? It's my mother, Melissa said again, staring at her phone like it was a bomb about to explode. The woman who's been visiting me every week for 3 years, the woman who brought me home from the hospital. If I was married to you, Nathan, then who is she? I felt the room tilt. Your mother died when you were 19, I said slowly. Car accident. You told me about her on our second date. You said you had no family left except an aunt in California you hadn't spoken to in years. Melissa answered the phone with shaking hands. Mom? She listened for a moment, and I watched her face change from confusion to recognition to something that looked like horror. You're not my mother, are you? A pause, then quietly, how long have you known? She hung up and looked at both of us with tears streaming down her face. She's not my mother. She's a woman from a support group for amnesia patients who befriended me in the hospital. She said I seemed so alone, so lost, and when I couldn't remember having any family, Melissa's voice broke. She pretended to be my mother because she thought it would help me heal, and everyone just believed it because I believed it. Melissa, Marcus started. No, she said, standing up. No, everyone stop. Stop making decisions for me. Stop protecting me. Stop lying to me. She looked at me. You spent 8 months working for me without telling me the truth. You watched me every single day and said nothing. Then, to Marcus. And you knew for 3 months and proposed anyway, thinking you could lock me into a marriage before I found out I already had a husband. That's not fair, Marcus said quietly. Fair? Melissa's voice rose. What's fair about any of this? I lost 5 years of my life. I lost a husband I don't remember. I built a new life on lies and false memories, and everyone decided that was better than the truth. So no, Marcus, nothing about this is fair. She grabbed her coat and purse. I need time. I need to figure out who I am without either of you telling me, without photos or stories or people making choices for me. She looked at me one last time. I'm sorry I don't remember you, Nathan. I'm sorry I can't be the woman in those photos. But I can't make a decision about loving you again when I don't even remember loving you the first time. Then she left. Marcus and I stood there in the empty conference room, 2 men who'd both lost the same woman in different ways. Take care of her, I said finally. I don't think either of us gets to do that anymore, Marcus replied. He picked up the champagne bottle he'd brought for a proposal that would never happen. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you lost her. I'm sorry I fell in love with your wife. I'm sorry this whole thing is such a mess. Me too, I said. He left, and I stood there alone with scattered blueprints and cold Thai food and a wedding ring that felt heavier than it had in 3 years. 3 months later, Melissa called me, asked if we could meet. We sat in a coffee shop and she told me she'd quit her job, moved to a new city, started therapy to process the 3 years of constructed memories. She'd broken up with Marcus, said she needed to figure out who she was without being defined by the men in her life. I still don't remember you, she said, but I've been looking at the photos, watching the videos, reading the emails we sent each other. And Nathan, we were really in love, weren't we? Yes, I said. We were everything. I want to try, she said quietly. Not to remember. Not to be the woman I was, but to see if the woman I am now could fall in love with you again. If you're willing to start over. Like strangers who happen to have a shared history neither of us can access the same way. 6 months after that, we went on our first date. Dinner and a movie, like we'd never met before. And it was awkward and strange. And she asked me questions about the man I'd become in the 3 years we'd been apart. A year later, she told me she loved me. Not because she remembered, but because she'd chosen to. Because the woman she was now had fallen for the man I was now. 2 years after that confession in the conference room, I asked her to marry me. Again. And this time when she said yes, it wasn't muscle memory or recognition. It was choice. It was her decision. We're married now. Again. Different ceremony, different vows, different people standing up there. But when I look at her, I see both women, the wife I lost and the woman who chose to love me anyway. She still doesn't remember our first 5 years together. Maybe she never will. But we're building new memories now. And sometimes that's enough. My boss asked me why I was still single, and my answer broke her. But maybe breaking was exactly what we both needed. Maybe we had to shatter completely before we could rebuild something even stronger. Because sometimes loving someone means letting them go. And sometimes it means waiting while they find their way back to you. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, it means getting a second chance with the same person who becomes someone entirely new. Looking at Melissa still hurts sometimes, but now it's the good kind of hurt. The kind that reminds me I survived the worst thing that could happen and came out the other side. The kind that means I'm alive enough to feel something real. Have you ever had to choose between protecting someone and telling them a truth that might destroy them? Have you ever loved someone so much that watching them be happy without you felt like the right choice, even though it was killing you inside? Drop your story in the comments below, because sometimes the bravest thing we can do is tell the truth, even when it breaks everything. And if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that love can survive even the worst losses, even amnesia, even years of separation, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button right below this video. And here's the important part. Click the notification bell right next to the subscribe button. It looks like a little bell icon. Click it and select all notifications. That way, YouTube will actually tell you when I post new stories like this one, because I upload real stories about love, loss, healing, and second chances every single week, and I don't want you to miss a single one. So subscribe, hit that bell, and let's heal together. Because everyone deserves to know that even after the worst heartbreak, love can find a way back.